Hello and welcome back to the CFC Talk podcast. And I say this every episode now, and I think I'll continue to say this for the rest of the season. But not the best of games to be reviewing again. Chelsea are having what a season we're having. But tonight, joined with us, Kamal, all the way from Florida, if I'm not wrong.
Correct.
So yeah, happy to have you on, man. Great interacting with you on Twitter, I must say. So thank you for coming on firstly and giving us your time and being on the podcast. But how have you been and how is everything going?
No, I appreciate it, man. This is what, like my third, I want to say third or fourth time, one of the two.
Yeah,
And it's always fun. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me on once again. I think the last time we spoke was actually the Champions League win.
yeah.
So a lot's
I think
changed. A
Kamal
lot's
Kamal
changed since
does
then.
you do bring in some luck. I think we spoke the time before that was the Champions League final preview, and I said
Hmm,
if we win, you have to come on the
sure.
post game show that we did live, and you did come on. So maybe this is when Chelsea's luck changes.
I
But
certainly
tonight,
hope so.
yeah. But tonight, another draw for Chelsea against Salzburg in
Hmm,
the Champions League match day two. Potter's first game. A lot of things have happened since we've last uploaded. Tuchel got sacked. We actually recorded the night before Tuchel got sacked because I'm usually someone who waits the next day for comments and everything. And that one game, I was like, you know what? Nothing's really gonna happen. It's gonna be the same old story. So I sat there 12 a.m. recorded a podcast and I've got it edited, ready, uploaded, just scheduled for 6 p.m. And I wake up and I still remember at 10 a.m. I wake up, look at my phone, scroll through Twitter for 5 minutes. I'm like, nothing's happened. Go back to bed. Woke up at 12:30 and I see a tweet, a notification from Chelsea saying statement on Thomas Tuchel, and my mind goes to Twitter trying to suggest me a tweet. Someone's changed their name to Chelsea FC or something, and those tweets that you sometimes get as notifications. So I just open it and I see the blue tick, and I haven't got my glasses on, so I'm like, no, I'm not believing anything like of this sort. Put on my glasses, I'm like, what has just happened? So, uh, Kamal, your quick thoughts on Tuchel and how you reacted to that sacking.
So unfortunately, just like Frank's sacking, I woke up to it. It
Yeah,
was because obviously I'm 5 hours back from the UK time. And so I woke up at around, I want to say like 5:30, 6 a.m. because just my body clock is stupid and just woke up to a billion notifications. I was like, there's no way we've just done it again. And yeah, I was kind of devastated in the moment. I was surprised, shocked, just like everyone else was. Maybe surprised isn't the right word because I was sort of, I don't want to say ready for it. Do you know when you kind of like knew the
yeah,
inevitable was going to happen at some point?
yeah,
And you were just like, all right, maybe this is too soon, or all those emotions came through my head, and I was just like, why now? That's what I was going through my head. It was like, why now? Why not just cut him off when you took over the club? What, like, why not? Why go through the effort of saying who do you want to sign? Go have him go through the effort of communicating to players and trying to build, a squad that he wants, quote unquote, and then decide that what, actually this isn't the way we want to work collaboratively. So it was shock, and but at the same time, not really. So it's kind of a strange emotion. I'm upset, but I'm not hurt. Like with Frank, I was devastated because
yeah,
obviously it's Frank.
yeah.
But being a Chelsea fan as long as I have now, it's like seeing so many managers come and go. So it's like, all right, here we go again, and here we are.
No, but realistically, did you not think? And I think it's not just my opinion, but a lot of people's opinion. Where when Frank came in, we thought this might be a long-term project. But when
Hmm.
Frank left and Tuchel came in, we again thought, right, this is another long-term project. This is not one of those
Sure.
sackings that are going to happen. But you're right in saying that what was surprising was the backing that Tuchel got throughout the summer, and Tuchel waited until the first few games of the season. I mean, 6 games in a season is no grounds for sacking someone like Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea, or any manager unless you lose all 6 games horrifically. So for me, it was the same emotions of what's just happened. Are we even going to come back to top four? What's going to happen? Why is this happening? And then the reports following after that this was something that was been talked about for a while now. That Cucurella deal that happened during that there was a conversation about Potter, as well as when Gilmore wanted to leave. There was some Bowley tried to convince him to stay because he knew what was going to happen in the near future. But something that was that seemed like it was planned for a while now, and I found it quite disrespectful coming, no disrespect to the owners for that decision, but realistically to Tuchel, it was a bit disrespectful with the way they handled it. And if this was something that was going on for weeks, he should have known about this maybe even before the season started.
Agreed. Yeah, it definitely seems a bit, sus, as they say on Twitter. It just came out. All the reports that came out, it was kind of, this has kind of been like in the works behind the scenes for a while. Exactly the things you just mentioned with the whole Cucurella deal and asking questions about, Graham Potter and so on and so forth. Part of me does want to give him the benefit of the doubt, and that him being, Bowley and the group, because they're kind of just doing due diligence at the same time, in the sense that they have just spent £4 billion just investing in a team that they want, as well as that kind of like they want to. Well, it's been evident anyway that they've cleared everything that says or Abramovich has touched, in the sense that, Marina's gone, Czech's gone. I think it was, I forget the chief exec's name, Bruce Buck, the other guy, then Scott McLaughlin, like literally everyone that was involved in the previous regime has gone. And in American sports, I hate to use that, similarity, but it's typical when a GM comes in and they hire quote unquote their guy. I don't know if you follow American sports at all, but like when, like that, like in the NFL terms, a GM will come in and he's kind of like the manager per se, and he hires his coach. They're kind of like in tandem. So I was kind of expecting him either to stick with Tuchel for the long term, or when he came in, just clean the slate. So the fact that this has gone on behind the scenes is strange, and it is weird, but at the same time, I hate to say it, but I don't think Tuchel is completely blameless, because from what we saw yesterday with that Salt interview, I'm not sure if you watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I watched it.
It seemed like he definitely wanted like a collaborative effort, and Tuchel's never been that kind of way. He's been like, I'm going to coach, I'm going to do me. Don't ask me for anything else.
Yeah, I think, but there is, you're right in saying that Tuchel has to take part of that blame. But for me, it's what Tuchel said in press conferences during the transfer window about the fact that he's had to look at signings, he's had to act as sporting director because Marina's not there. He's had to cover up Czech's role as well. Someone who's close with the goalkeepers and coaching them and the defensive side of things, as well as helping out in signings and scouting reports and all of that. But he's had to kind of take over those two key roles at Chelsea for the last 3 months and had almost no break. Didn't get that, or as a coach, what you enjoy is implying tactics in training, trying to do different things, trying to make players play in different positions, to try out other things, whereas he hasn't got that time because of the fact that he's had to look at signings, and obviously those deadline day signings that we made with Zakaria last minute, and a few more that we made because of injuries, obviously in the midfield, and the options that we had with Alvarez as well. So realistically, would you not say the board was more irresponsible with how they handled the situation than Tuchel, and there's more blame to be put on the board and Bowley than Tuchel here?
Yeah, it's difficult to say because they, according to the board, they assessed the entire 100 days that they have been there.
Yeah,
and according to reports, depending upon who you believe, right, like The Athletic or Matt Law, whoever it may be, it seems like from what I read is that they kind of assessed Tuchel's 100-game career too. So they assessed his first 50 games and the after 50 games either. And if we're being objective, his second half 50 games were not good. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
We scrape. Now when he first, we scraped top four again. just due to circumstance. And okay, we're 2 kicks away from 2 domestic cups, but at the same time, our home form has been horrendous since he has been part of Chelsea. And if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the worst in recent decades. And just in the league, we haven't been great. But even that being said, I still think if you're going to back a manager to the extent that we as a fan base felt like he deserved to be backed, he should have been able to have full autonomy on who comes in, who comes out.
Right.
You look at Ziyech, for example, it's clear he wasn't part of his plans. He flies to Ajax at the end of the Leeds game, comes back and he's playing the next game. So it's all these kind of like, what is going on? None of this makes any sense. The board, for sure, I think they were kind of short-sighted in that sense because they've just got rid of, easily, in my opinion, one of the top 5 coaches in the world right now.
Yeah.
But the way they see it is something completely different. They're clearly going for like a longer-term project in the sense of collaboration with youth. And okay, Tuchel gave Chalobah a chance and stuff like that, but it didn't really seem that there was that full about using the academy and using stuff like that, because he didn't give any teenagers any minutes, which is the first time that's happened in years. So stuff like that is difficult because I don't think Tuchel is completely blameless, but I do think overall that the board kind of should have given him the time because they came in saying that Tuchel's world class, Tuchel's this, Tuchel's that. So it's definitely harsh because we always forget the human aspect of things. And Tuchel, going through a divorce, losing half his family in that sense in terms of the split, then going into this and the sanctions and having the role he had to do with the club. And he handled it, so well in terms of just all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it sucks because like you said as well, he didn't have any time.
Yeah.
No time at all to implement anything in preseason.
Yeah.
Stuff going to America, doing all those tours. Stuff.
Exactly. So it's been a tough few months for Tuchel, and I mean I'm guessing he'll want to jump back and get into a managerial role as quickly as possible. There are reports of him maybe going to Bayern. There are a few other reports coming up, but let's see what he does. But with Potter coming in, there's been a lot of talk about, obviously, as you mentioned, using the academy, having a business model like Man City, where you've got clubs around Europe and maybe in America. The big one that came out tonight or yesterday night was officially came out, but today it was confirmed that BOEHLY has had a few meetings with a club in Portugal, which is an unnamed club at the moment, and they're planning out on buying that club to try and fund in players and more scouts and try and see what they can do, come up with that. But moving on to, I guess, this managerial debate that I guess Twitter has been having for the past week, and everyone's
As always.
got their incredible opinions, as I should say, or debatable opinions that they've got on things like these. The game tonight against Salzburg, not the most entertaining game, and we can't sit here and say anything to Graham Potter being his first game at Chelsea, and Chelsea playing after quite a while. Obviously, the last game we played was back I think 6th of October, so almost two weeks, close to a week back now. But Fulham being postponed, Liverpool being postponed, is this a good time for Chelsea to regroup and learn from Salzburg and get into the rhythm of start winning games? So, but before we get into all of that, your quick thoughts on today's game, and then we'll talk about the individual performances of Ziyech and Azpilicueta and everyone in there.
Yeah, sure. So to start on Potter itself, I know you said everyone had their opinions. I just want to say real quick, like I think prior to Potter being hired, if you'd asked the fan base, okay, give me your top 3 managers of who you want, in my humble opinion, I would have said at least 50% would have said Graham Potter, just based on the stuff he's done with Brighton, and the whole footballing world sphere that we live in all said that Potter deserves a top 6 chance. And the second Chelsea hire him, it's like, oh, not that one though. So it's like, all right, the agenda against Chelsea begins. But with today in general, yeah, he had, this is a perfect opportunity to regroup because it's basically like a preseason 2.0. Some players will be going on international break, fine, but there's going to be a ton of players still hanging about, specifically younger players. So he's going to be able to implement tactics with them, get to know them better individually, one-on-one. a lot of individual human aspects of things that he's kind of said that he wants to know and do. He's clearly very intelligent on, the what's his degree again? It was like emotional intelligence or something like that.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's
he's got a master's in that area.
he keeps saying how we're all human and the main thing is relationships. So he's going to have a lot of time to get to know these people now. What went wrong, what they like, what they don't like, and on top of that, work on the training pitch. Because let's be real, Brighton were an incredible team, in my opinion, based on the resources they had, based on the style of football they played. They were great to watch, and against us specifically, they played us off the park a lot of times. Um, I know I don't recall losing to them, but I do remember, you know, those games were tough. They were never easy games. So this is a perfect opportunity for him to to work on all those things we just mentioned.
Yeah, no, I mean he's got the resources at Chelsea, and with Bowley wanting to back a manager like Graham Potter for the next few years, he'll have a lot less pressure than what previous Chelsea managers have had on their backs. I think we've always known Chelsea to be a club where there's always so much pressure after every single loss because you don't know when your last game could be.
Mm.
And with Potter, I think Bowley has made it very clear that he wants long term. Even if we don't finish top four, it's fine. He wants to change the model around Chelsea, and guess he's been talking not just about Chelsea but Premier League as well as European
Do you
football.
think that statement's true
Um,
in your opinion? But when it comes to finishing top four, say for example we finish seventh and win nothing, do you think he's going to be like, okay, fine,
I don't think
go
so. That's
again?
what I'm saying. So I find it very hard to believe that
Right.
that's going to be something that's going to happen. Like I don't see Potter being any different from Abramovich in terms of the ambitions he has. He
Mm.
has yes, he's a bit more public about the business aspects of the ambitions. If you I can't recall, maybe back in the day Roman used to do it when he newly got the club, but I don't recall Roman publicly or anyone from Chelsea publicly saying, well, these are business deals that we're doing. But Bowley
Mm.
is making it very clear that it's not just a project where he wants to win 5 trophies every year. It's for him. For
Right.
him, it's an opportunity to make profit as well. So uh, for
Here's my
me,
point to that, if I can interject.
yeah,
It's it seems this is just something I've just randomly thought of as we're talking. He's working with Clear Lake Capital,
yeah,
and they're the majority shareholders, correct? And they are investment funded in the sense that they need to see profit within a certain time frame.
yeah,
So what scares me, and it always has scared me since this takeover, although they've always been my pick from the beginning, that's more of an indictment against the other candidates like Ricketts and the other terrible options. Because I know totally Bod has had, but I got mixed up there. I know he's had extreme success
yeah.
with his other teams, Lakers, Dodgers, etc. But what scares me is the whole Clear Lake thing because they're incredibly just like profit, money, profit,
Yeah.
money. So they could be like, listen, we haven't finished top four, we haven't done this. He's got to go, and because they're majority shareholders, they get the final say. So what does scare me is that I'm just being pessimistic, but
Yeah,
there's potential friction between you know um Egbali and and Todd
fine.
down the line. But because I see Todd having one vision, and as long as it's aligned, then it's cool. But everyone has a boss, everyone has you
Yeah,
know stuff that they have to follow, and if Chelsea aren't successful, aren't creating a big turnaround in terms of revenue, then it could lead to some things on the pitch.
I completely agree. I think we can't really. The way I look at it is, it's a bit too early to judge how this ownership's going to
Right.
do, and I'd like to think if they say we'll back the manager, for now I'd like to say yes. I agree with I trust you with that, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I still have that sacking of Tuchel after 6 games, and I'm thinking Graham Potter might not be here 19 months from now, 18 months from now, um, even earlier if results don't go the right way, because you're right in saying, Bowley being Clear Lake Capital being a group who are pretty much profit oriented if they don't see performances from Chelsea players and Chelsea finishing in the top 4 and getting Champions League, because we've seen how much power that Champions League spot has with Man United not being able to get the players they want. So Chelsea falling out of there, and with the squad that we've got right now, I know we're going to dive into each of the players and the way they've played today, but this squad, there still isn't a core team in this squad. So until that's sorted, we can't afford to lose out of that Champions League spot, because we can't afford to lose out on the signings that big clubs might make just because we missed out and we're 5th or 6th. And they don't want to play another season in the Europa League or the Conference League or just domestic cups. Yes, it's all in the air kind of conversation for now. I think, in my opinion, it's more about just focusing on what's this season, what's going to happen this season, and then seeing how BOEHLY reacts to it, what comes next summer, and how Potter's backed. If it's another £300 million being thrown at him, then you know he's going to be going within 5 games. That's BOEHLY'S way of saying, well, you're going to be out of the door soon. You can spend some of my money if you want. But no, today against Salzburg, I wouldn't say a deflated team, but not the best of Chelsea teams that we've seen, you know. And I don't know if I don't want to go after Graham Potter for saying and say anything to him, because he hasn't had a lot of time. Even though we did, you know, that game against Fulham did get postponed and that opportunity for 6 days, but he's got a good break now before that next game and in the international break to work with players. But starting lineup, your quick reaction on that? Azpilicueta starting at centre back, Aubameyang up front, and Havertz in behind him. I think I've lost you on audio.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Sorry, yeah. So the only qualm I had with the entire lineup was Azpi's selection, purely because, you know, to start with the pre-game notes, he said, "Oh, we went with experience and know-how in the Champions League." I'm like, fine, he's your captain, and I get it, but at the same time, Koulibaly has played a ton of games in the Champions League, and Azpi is just not a centre back. He's just not, and you know he's older. And I think Potter was kind of naive in picking him in the sense that he's my captain. You know, he's probably the most respected guy in the group. Let me just pick him for the sake of picking him, as opposed to naturally wanting to pick him full-heartedly, if that makes sense. I felt like it was kind of a naive selection in that sense. Because when it came out that Fofana and Koulibaly were on the bench, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I kind of freaked out because personally, I hate to say it because I love Dave, but I do think he is finished at this level. I hate to say that because my fear coming into this whole thing was if he has like a rough patch of games, he's going to turn into like Branislav Ivanovic again, when one of the most adored players in our history is getting rinsed, and you know the fan base is just like hurting for him, and that's how it seems for Azpi right now. That this whole season so far, he hasn't been good. So giving him that 2-year deal was just like, now why would you do that? Because he's already come out and said, not publicly, but behind the scenes, that he wants to go back to Spain to his family. So, not saying his heart's not in it because he's a professional. He was obviously going to give his whole, but he's just not at the level that we need. Besides that, I think, excuse me, the rest of the lineup was fine. I think we could all expect it. It was kind of confusing as who was left wing back, because it was like Mount for a time, maybe Sterling. It was all kind of jaded and kind of confusing, but you know, at times the system looked, they were playing one way during the game in offensive transitions, and then defensive transitions with a different shape. So that's what I do like about Potter, in the sense that he can constantly change. He's very adept to changing in the game situation. But lineup aside, like, you know, to answer your question, besides Azpi, everything else, I was like, fair enough.
Yeah, for me as well, that Azpilicueta came as a surprise, because I didn't think the players needed any rest. I mean, it's been a week since the last game. Fofana and Koulibaly both should be fit enough to play this game, so that was a surprise to me. And you know, Thiago Silva, obviously you have to start him. The man is incredible. Like he can't put a foot wrong at this club, and the way he acts, and those Instagram stories from last night after Barcelona's loss just had me gone at the end. You know, I think when Chelsea Twitter, when I see a tweet on Twitter saying, whenever I see a tweet saying, you know, the only mistake we've done with Thiago Silva is not signing him early. And I go,
Right.
imagine if we had him a few years ago at
Oh no,
Chelsea, what he would have done.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think honestly, just apart from Aspilicueta, but you're right in saying the formations were a bit really confusing. When the lineups came out, and I said, "Oh, don't tell me Mount's on the wing back, or don't tell me someone else is on the wing back," because I'm not about to see Havertz or someone get into wing back or something. Because
It's definitely how it seemed.
yeah, and with the way Chelsea, and it's funny because the way Chelsea write their lineup is how I try to read it, and sometimes I feel like they know fans are reading it that way, so they switch it around just to
Yep.
mess with you as well. So, but it ended up being, I think Sterling was playing out wide with James, and then
Right.
Cucurella was sitting in deep with the three at the back kind of situation with what he said during the post match game as well. But Havertz, I mean, that's going to be a conversation to talk, that's going to probably go on
Big
forever
time.
and ever. We know he was, I guess, Tuchel's favorite starter. He's been a regular starter under Tuchel, but under Graham, it's going to be a new start for everyone, and everyone's going to try and make their space in this playing 11. Broja coming on had more impact than Havertz. I think we need to maybe
It's the
give
same situation all season. It's been the same. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's
yeah,
just it's annoying because, like you said, a kid comes off the bench every game this year and has an impact greater than Havertz has within a couple seconds. And you can see the intent. You can see how much it, I don't want to say means, but you can see how much the hunger, that's there. Kai Havertz's body language doesn't show enthusiasm. It doesn't show that, I'm never going to question anyone's effort because that's something you can't quantify. But
yeah,
it's a different feel. It's a different aura when Havertz isn't playing. And, we saw it last time he got benched and then came off the bench and then scored. He definitely needs to sit. And I don't get it because, it was considered this phenom, this 72 million brilliant player. And okay, he has his name etched in our history forever. I mean,
yeah,
forever thankful for that moment. But you can't live off one moment and still be 21, 22 years old. I think it's
yeah,
22, correct? If I'm not
yeah.
mistaken. So
He's 23.
okay, so it's still
Yeah,
young. I mean, in football terms, that's nothing, right? But
yeah.
it's like, what have you done? What is your position? I don't think if I asked you what is Kai Havertz's position, do you know? Is he an 8? Is he a 10? Is he a winger? Is he a striker? No, false 9. And what? I don't get it because he doesn't do any key passes. He doesn't link up play very well. He doesn't dribble past players. He doesn't score goals. It's like so confusing. But you can see the talent is there in his stature and his physique. It's just like, what? I don't know. He's such a confusing man.
No, no, you're right. Because with Havertz, we've tried him in behind the striker. We've tried him as a striker. We've tried him as a winger, and it just doesn't seem to have clicked the way that it was clicking back in Germany for him at his previous club. And we haven't been able to unlock the Havertz potential, and that it's not just about him scoring goals. At Chelsea, his role is much broader than just scoring a goal at each game or having an assist. It's more about creating those chances, opening those spaces up, trying to get other players involved, and trying to understand how the game's going. So under Tuchel, the first 6 games quite disappointing, and with even today with Broja coming on and that few counter-attacking chances that we had, the one that Ziyech was saved right towards the end of the game, that one as well. And I looked at my screen and I was going, well, why are we? This is not even a question now. Under 2 managers, we've seen Havertz not perform well.
3.
At 3 now,
It's Frank too.
yeah,
Yeah,
Frank
Frank for
Lampard
half
as well.
season.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so under 3 managers, and yet we're still hesitant to try out Broja, someone who Bowley really wanted at the club. So I'm hoping that partnership of Potter, Bowley, and Broja might get him to start a few times more. But something I want to know your opinion on. I've been saying this, and I said this a few podcasts ago. I think we were playing with two strikers. I think it was Broya and Havertz back then when we were playing a few games back when we were playing right at the end of the game. But I want to see Aubameyang and Broya maybe to play together up front, two up front maybe. Sterling, cut in behind, maybe a different position for Sterling. Even though Sterling tonight was one of the good performers along with Reece James. And Mount obviously played not the best of his games. That we know what Mount can do. Mount can be Mount, but that assist and he was better than what he's been performing like in the past few games.
Yeah, I mean, Broya, I like to see it too. They're just they're different profiles to each other, so I definitely like to see it because I know he may not have the same electric pace that he once had, but he's still a quick player, and that's me speaking about Aubameyang. So he's kind of always been that player that's like drifted out wide and kind of come in, that kind of like Thierry Henry type elk player, where it's more on like the left wing channel. So I could definitely see it where he's like played off the left, Boyers in the middle, and Sterling on the right. Because Sterling has played a ton on the right for Man City, so that could definitely be something that could be interesting to see, and I'd like to see it too because let's be real, the players behind them, they're just not up to scratch. And I know you're going to come to it, so I don't want to speak on it too much. But Pulisic and Ziyech, just no for me. So it's literally who else do you have? Yeah, no, I don't know. See, I think Pulisic. I'm gonna come to this when you get to it. Yeah. Pulisic is a good player. It's his stands that I can't stand, and as a result, I want Pulisic out. So, but as Ziyech, that's a completely different story. But yeah,
no, after tonight's performance, I'm sorry to interject, but like after today's performance, I'm just get Ziyech out.
It's unreal though because I'm not sure if I was on your podcast at the time, but when we first, I think I actually was.
Yeah,
it was when we first signed him. I was like, yeah, this is the guy that I wanted.
I think everyone thought that, 28-year-old in his prime, Champions League, the way he switches the play from left to right, and he just pace he's got. He was going to be the next, the Willian upgrade. And now fans are begging for Willian to come back.
It's funny because like remember when Willian went to Arsenal, and he said that Willian's a better player, and we all laughed. Yeah. At the time, looking back, he was bang on because it was like Willian prior to his season leaving, when his last season for us was phenomenal, like stats wise, performance wise, output wise, big moments against Tottenham and such. But Ziyech, I don't know what it is. I'm not sure if it's just he's just had enough of playing wing back at times, not playing as an actual winger at times, if he's just genuinely fed up. Because there has been moments where Ziyech has looked incredible, but those moments are once every 10 games. And injuries, acclimatizing to this culture, I'm not sure. But yeah, the last two games in general, I think it was like the last game against Zagreb, I think I put it out that it was almost, if not as bad as the Bakayoko Watford performance. It was one of the worst performances I've ever seen in terms of the cockiness of 2 free kicks. I've got this. Back away, Reece James, and he bangs it straight into the wall. And the throw-in got me the most. I lost my shit when, excuse my language, but with the throw-in, when he caught the ball when the ball was still in play, I was just like, no, I've had enough. But today, again, just not good. Just not good.
He doesn't seem like he's got the attitude of a player who wants to play at Chelsea. It's as simple as that. And I think
it's obvious.
Everyone realized that at the club, and that's why they were so rushed out in trying to get him a deal. But they've realized, well, he's had a fallout with the Moroccan team manager a year back, I think 2 years back.
Right.
And then now he's having a fallout at Chelsea. Not a very public fallout or not an extreme fallout, but as in you can clearly see he doesn't want to be part of that team. What teams are looking at is well, this guy's just going to come in, destroy my dressing room, and I'm going to be the cause of all of this because I'll back this signing. So realistically, not exactly sure who wants to actually pick up Ziyech, but anyone, just offer anything.
I think Ajax and Milan, respectively, probably both would have, but if I recall correctly, they both wanted him on loan, and we were just like, nah, you got to take him permanently. We're not doing that, especially at his age. I understand why we didn't.
It was also because I think they didn't want the loan with an obligation to buy. and Chelsea were going to put in a clause where a certain amount of like performances, then you buy him, but they didn't want that. So quite clear how what his stance is at Chelsea and how his future is going to pan out at Chelsea. But talking about a few of the things Graham Potter, I'm just trying to go through what Graham Potter exactly said towards the end, and something that I don't generally agree with, and I've been saying this for a while now on the podcast in terms of the character in the team and how the team reacts to, I guess, having a draw or losing the game. But I'm just trying to pull up the exact words that Graham Potter used, which was,
as you're pulling that up, it's clear, right, that based on our style of play, it's always been about control, don't risk anything, get the goal, and then we kind of just stop. That it's been such an annoyance of mine recently. It's like once we score, it's like, okay, stop. We stop playing, we stop any enthusiasm, we stop any desire to continue and to end the game. And the second that changes is when the opposition scores. Like you saw today, as soon as they scored, attacking subs, spam balls in the box. It's like, where was this prior? Like, why isn't there any urgency or desire prior to them scoring? Like, just go for the kill. Like, I'm sick of this pragmatic football where it's just, just wait for a reaction. It's more, we're more of a reactive team than, whatever the word opposite is. Sorry, I'm tired, but just dominating.
yeah,
You see Pep's football, and even I know Klopp's struggling at the moment, but historically, it's like, okay, we score one, okay, we're gonna go for 2 and 3 and 4, and they're gonna keep going until you're worn out. Even Pochettino's Spurs did it, but we have always been this pragmatic. Wait. If they score, okay, we'll attack again. It doesn't make sense.
yeah,
And it's like embedded in the culture.
Exactly, and this is the exact comment. This is what the comment Graham Potter made, and he said, "I thought the application and the attitude of players was fantastic against a good opponent, an opponent that make it difficult for you," and I disagree with that. I think Chelsea's got a lot more than just a game like this, and if we continue to play like this, we don't necessarily deserve top 4. We don't necessarily deserve anything.
Agreed.
And it's what concerns me is throughout Tuchel's first 6 games, no one was going after Tuchel, and that's something that I liked, during that time where everyone realized this is not a Tuchel issue, this is a player issue, and this is what I'm scared about. And we talked a lot about BOEHLY, Potter being a long-term project and so on and so forth. But I'm thinking, well, if the players turned on Thomas Tuchel, who's literally gotten them the biggest prize in European football, who are they to turn on Graham Potter come 5 months from now? If the results are not coming in, if the manager's under scrutiny, the players are just going to switch around and say, well, it's the manager's fault, it's not our fault. Whereas I didn't see an attitude change today. I didn't see this Chelsea team or anyone in this Chelsea team, apart from a few Reece James and Sterling, bring the team up, bring the crowd up and say, nah, we're not going back. We're not going off this pitch until we get that second goal. We're not going off this pitch. And you're right in saying that Chelsea do have a style of play where we score one and now we're just going to play the game out kind of situation, where that shouldn't be the case. We should be finishing the games off as early as possible, 2 to 3 goals in the first or 60th minute, 70th minute, the game's finished. We shouldn't be leaving it to the last 10 minutes for Chelsea to score a goal. How many goals have we scored towards the end of the game this season? There's the majority. A lot of goals that we score are towards the 85th to the 90 minutes, which is dangerous for Chelsea because realistically, 100%. And it was very frustrating to see the fact that obviously they had that back 4 and then 4 in midfield, so it was quite, and they were sitting in deep into their box. But a team like Chelsea, with the talent they've got, we should be able to break that. And the character that Chelsea needs to show is aggressiveness. We can't just be those guys who come in, get across in, oh, missed a header, let's go back defend. You need to press, you need to constantly be intense, and you need to use every ounce of energy that you've got for this game, not thinking about whether there's another game in 3 games where you need to preserve your energy and play again.
Sure. And to add on to that, I just don't think, I know you said we have the squad. I don't think we have all the personnel needed to play the type of football that we as fans want. Because I look at, okay, 90% of the teams that we face are going to be double block, low, just sitting back and waiting to counter. Who do we have that can unlock a pass? I'm trying to think, like Mason here and there, perhaps. Ziyech you thought could, but obviously he can't anymore. Z- Pulisic is a head down dribbler. Sterling's a head down dribbler. Reece James, but he's a right back. And it's just like, okay, who can Jorginho perhaps like once a while if he doesn't get bodied off the ball first. Like it's who in this team can create out of nothing? Who is that Cesc Fabregas? Who is that Lampard? And so many people say Lampard wasn't creative, but he had like over 100 assists. And
Yeah.
yes, he was. Like, don't even give me that. So we don't have a creative player, and I do think that's something that's missing. But at the same time, yeah, the system, something has to change between mentality and the way we play, because it's definitely like we stop, everyone kind of looks up, and there's like a minimal, movement. It's not fluid. Um, to go back to your thing, like what your quote about Potter and how you didn't agree, I do think he kind of has to say that. He can't come out
Yeah.
first game and be like they were terrible. Like
Yeah.
this is the mentality issue. Everyone's just gonna be like, whoa. Um, but yeah, it's something has to change, and I do think he's gonna get the time to do so. Hopefully, to kind of lead out the players he doesn't want, and bring in the players he does want.
Yeah.
That's kind of, maybe that's wishful thinking, but there's a lot of change that has to go on.
No, but coming back to the Jorginho point you made, I think Jorginho is very effective. I know a lot of fans might come to me for this, but Jorginho, I've seen Jorginho be most effective when I've got
I'm about
to
to.
watch out.
So watch your words.
Yeah, I've got to watch out. But no, I think I've seen Jorginho be most effective when Kante is on the field. When Jorginho doesn't have to worry about that responsibility of tracking back in defensive areas and make that final tackle that he has to, which
He's
he
not
does
seeing it.
struggle to make
He's
to
not.
because of his pace. And even when he's there, he hesitates sometimes because he's scared of that red card or
Did you
that
see it today?
sending off.
Did
Yeah,
you see it
even
today?
today, exactly. It was
He stops for like a split of 1
so
second,
yeah. So that's what
ball
I'm saying.
watching, and then
It's
he
the
tries to
reaction
run
time.
back.
It's the
Yeah,
reaction
it's
time and then the pace. So it's like he works well when there's Kante there who can cover up for his mistakes, or someone who can sit back, and then he's free to do what he wants. It's that way of his that weight that he has of having to track back and knowing that if he loses the ball out, he needs to track back and get into the defensive position. When that's off his mind, we see a Jorginho that's great on the pitch. Yes, against Tottenham, that error before leading to that goal, but realistically, looking at the whole performance, you would say that was a great game for Jorginho. And why was that a great game? Because Kante was there. Every time Kante is not on the pitch, Jorginho does struggle. I've seen that happen. So
it goes back to what I said. It was like the squad isn't complete, right? So
yeah. But then there's also conversations. About Kante rejecting a contract because he wants a 3-year contract, and I think of it and I go, look, he's a Chelsea legend, but do I want to give someone a 3-year contract who's only going to play about 45-50% of our games, and it's not going to be able to
do it, especially high wage. He's like the second highest player in the squad, if I'm not mistaken. So 3 more years on top of his age, and it's already breaking down. There's no way I could do it. But thankfully it's not my decision. But no way I could do it.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be happy with if Kante got 3-year. 1 year maybe I'll be fine with it until we bring in Declan Rice, maybe get him another year since Billy Gilmore's got it. I mean, I think of it and I go, how have we let go of Billy Gilmore for 9 million? We've been trying to get West Ham to give us Declan Rice, and then you've got someone like Kante who's injury prone, and without Kante being in that, this squad has won 1 game without Kante. Without Kante being in the starting lineup, we've won 1 game out of 5.
Yeah, sounds right.
And out of the first 2 that we played, we won 1, we drew 1 against Everton, and then drew against Tottenham.
It's the West Ham game, right? It's the West Ham game they didn't play that we didn't deserve to win.
That I think that's the only game that we've won so far.
That's the one you're talking about.
Yeah, and maybe the Leicester one as well, that we won. But we saw that performance over there right at the end. If those 2 goals didn't go in, realistically, that wasn't one of the best performances. But it's clear to Chelsea that we're missing, as we mentioned right at the start of the podcast. There is a core team that's missing. There aren't, when you look at a team sheet, you go, these 5 players have to be on the team sheet. There isn't that at Chelsea right now, obviously, except Reece James, Sterling, And as far as the goalkeeping position goes, we're back in this debate of Kepa and Mendy again, both equally trying to do as bad as the other
It's
one.
tough.
And tonight, I think, look, honestly, I looked at the save on the replay, and I was like, did Kepa just dive because he was like, I don't want to look that bad on on camera, because it was such a delayed reaction, and I was like, I don't think I've got as bad of a reaction as Kepa.
I saw like someone break it down. I can't find it, but I saw someone break it down and kind of analyze the save, how he should have been further back. He should have saved it with his foot because it was right there.
Yeah.
And it's been a constant theme with Kepa, right? He always does the thing that goalkeepers are told not to do, but he does because it's just in his nature. But yeah, I feel bad because like I feel like he deserves a new lease of life somewhere else. And I want him to be happy because I'm sure he's a nice guy. And his article on the Players Tribune was really touching. And yeah, he's a great human, but player wise at this level, he's just not it. And when you touch on Mendy too, it's like, what happened? Like his distribution has always been suspect, but he always had the saves and the errors weren't as prone. But I think maybe he's just been found out like completely. Like obviously these we're playing at the highest
Yeah.
level in world
Yeah.
football. So scouts are just like press him onto his left foot, and then he'll try to put it onto his right, and then he can't, and so you're going to win the ball, just like what happened at Leeds.
Yeah.
And so Benzema did it too. It's just, yeah, he's got to get it out of his head. That's one thing I don't like about possession football. It's okay, goalkeeper, give him the touches, give it to someone else. I'm so old school in that sense. Just knock it forward like Petr, just boot it forward.
Yeah.
Just get it out of your area, man. Just
I
there's
mean, Man
no
City
need to
do it,
like
and
be.
it's very successful with
Edison is
Edison
one of
and
the
his
best at just
distribution. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't mess about on the
Yeah.
ball. Just boot it, man. It's just there's no need to like be cute with it. I don't get it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, as in, whenever I see the ball in defense or in the back with the back four,
I
or
freak out.
with yeah, exactly. And I'm like, well, if you're getting pressed, the last thing I want is the ball going even further back, closer to the goal, where there's an error possible.
Exactly that.
Especially knowing Chelsea's history and goalkeeping history. The first thing I'm fine with Chelsea losing out on the ball and regaining possession after a throw in comes in.
100%.
Obviously, don't give in a corner, try and get a throw in. But when that throw in happens, try and regain the ball.
Right.
Give the opportunity for players to track back rather than trying to find another pass in that. So those errors can't happen. I mean, 11 goals in the last 7 games. We haven't kept a clean sheet in the last 7 games in a row. The only clean sheet was Everton in that first game. So regardless of whether you're winning games or losing games or scoring 10 goals, until you stop that goal. I mean, we talked about it with Tuchel, the first 50 games, how we conceded only 12 goals or 10 goals compared
crazy,
to the last 50 where it was 53 or something. So you can clearly see the difference. And it's like, we could score 2, but if you're conceding to every game, it's still just a draw. So defensively, we really need to strengthen up. And today, Azpilicueta playing was just out of order, in my opinion. We've got Fofana, you've got Koulibaly, Chalobah can play in that position as well.
Yes. What happened to Trev?
Yeah,
statistically, he hasn't lost a game in his entire Chelsea career. And
exactly.
Twitter people would be like, "Oh, he's rubbish." Okay, he might be rubbish, but he's never lost. So play him every game until he loses.
Exactly. And if we had to play Cucurella as a center back, I mean, or 3 at the back position, we might as well had Chilwell start, Cucurella play as a back 3. If Aspie's not a natural center back, so might as well given Cucurella a chance at left center back. He's not a natural center back, but he can play in that position, has done for Brighton for a few games. Exactly. So and he's got much faster pace than Aspie, and obviously he's a club legend. I'm not going to try and put on any hate on Aspie, but it's not time to go. But realistic. He's a good replacement for Reece James because we don't have a backup right back because we didn't go for Klose as
even I don't think he is though. That was my biggest fear when we signed Cucurella. I was like, okay, now we need someone on the right.
Yeah,
and I know we all linked with what's his name from that French
Jonathan
Klaus. Yeah, so I was just like, this is a perfect thing because it's like 10 million. He's statistically one of the best in Europe at his age, and it was just like it made so much sense. And I know we let Callum go, but Callum's not a right wing back. But it was just like you can't have Aspie play as a right back or a centre back or a right wing back. He's just not. I don't know if the coaches see something different to me, but to my eye, he's just lost so much pace
Yeah.
and physical stature. Like the jumping, everything is just, oh, he's just not there. He's just not there anymore. It's painful to
Yeah.
see it.
Obviously, it's not us trying to um, disrespect him
Of course
and
not.
what he's done at Chelsea. It's just that the age factor has kicked in, and not everyone is Thiago Silva who
Exactly.
keeps getting better with age. And we say that with Jorginho as well. The lack of pace, it's clearly evident. And what you want from your defenders is that burst of pace that
Mhm.
Rudiger, I guess, had uh, a few years
Right.
back when he was at the club last year. And that burst of pace to make that final tackle, maybe when that counter attack is happening, that final tackle could be the change. You take that yellow card for all I care. Just
Yes.
don't concede the
Tactical
goal.
foul.
Unless obviously you're 2-3-0 down and the last thing you want is a red card. But that those technical fouls need to be made by Chelsea. And as you said, Jorginho being hesitant, as we not having that pace, Silva, you don't expect him to track back at 38. You're left with no options to try and track back, and that's how you can see the goals. So a lot to
Look,
improve.
question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that Potter was naive in his subs? I had a
Um.
discussion with some friends, and I was like, in my opinion, yes, because you go 1-0 up, you automatically know Salzburg's going to attack. You've got no defensive presence in midfield. Zacharia's on the bench, but you bring on Loftus-Cheek and Gallagher. I mean, and Gallagher after the fact. It's just like, what?
Yeah, I was
I know
quite
he hasn't
surprised
really
with
acclimatized, but come on,
Zakaria
he's your
not
only
getting
defensive
getting
guy.
getting minutes. Yeah, like
It made no sense to me,
he's someone who's played as a natural six,
right?
Zakaria. So he's
Exactly.
someone that I was expecting to come on, and especially I think when
Kovacic
the
went off.
subs were made, um, the subs were made right before the goal was scored, if I'm not wrong.
Yep. Kovacic and
Yeah,
Havertz went off,
yeah,
and then they scored.
yeah. Broya
It's just
was a
like,
great sub. I'll give him credit for that. Broya was a great sub.
okay.
That should have probably happened a few minutes earlier as well. But Loftus-Cheek and Gallagher coming on was just didn't understand that, and Silva being the only natural center back at a
Yes.
time, and it was one of those where it was a desperation to win in the final 10-15 minutes, where just put every attacking player you've got on the bench
That I
on
get,
and
but
use
like
that five
prior to that,
substitutions. It's uh yeah, but no, but then we conceded, and then I think after that we subbed on. I can't remember exactly. Did we
because
sub on
the way,
Pulisic
if I recall the
after?
timeline of events, it was you take off Kovacic and Kai in a double sub,
Yeah,
and then Breuer and Ruben Loftus-Cheek came on, and then we well, immediately they scored, if I'm not mistaken. So in
so
my thinking, it's okay. You're 1-0 up. You haven't got a natural centre back besides one.
yeah,
You haven't got any defensive presence in midfield, and you already know the opposition is gonna like overload and throw everything forward. So wouldn't
yeah.
you have one player who's kind of like defensively minded in midfield who can
Yeah, I would
break
have.
stuff up?
That's what I'm saying. Like Zakaria would have been a no-brainer there, and you would have brought on Zakaria, and irrespective of how much time he's added training, because someone who plays as a natural number six knows what he's doing. I think he knows what
Right.
he's doing.
At this level, yeah.
Yes, he might not fit the formation or the style of play, or he might make a few errors, but he knows he can track. If he's someone who can track back, get that defensive block, and help out the defense, get him on. That was a no-brainer. You're absolutely right in that. And the thing I didn't understand is after conceding the goal is when we brought on Ziyech, Gallagher, Pulisic,
We'll see.
and
Yeah.
I think Loftus-Cheek was before that. So those three substitutions
Yeah.
after that goal went in, and that was the final cry from Chelsea, where right, we want to take a win regardless, and now you're left with just Thiago Silva on the pitch as a natural centre back, and you've got Reece James and Cucurella doing defensive duties, whereas Reece James is probably the only person who can create a chance for you in that
Yeah, it's ridiculous how that's true,
so
right?
so yeah, I mean yeah, I guess it's too early to judge Potter and what he's trying to do with
Of
this
course.
team, and we saw that glimpse of Brighton changing for like the change in formation throughout the game, change of style of play. So that's something that's going to be very interesting to see how Graham manages players and how he manages positions of those players throughout those. But right before we end it on let's end it on a light note. Obviously, a lot of conversation about Chelsea, but Todd Bowley saying that in the interview yesterday about a North versus South game, and a
Oh
lot of
God.
chatter around that. So
Oh God.
let's have a quick conversation about how do you feel as an
Yeah.
American watching? I'm,
Oh,
I'm sure you watch a
don't call
lot
me
of
an American. Don't
as
call
in,
me that.
as
I
in,
live here.
as
I
in
live here. I've got
an
citizenship.
American sports watcher, or
No,
someone who watches
no.
American sports. I'm
So
guessing you watch the NBA
yeah, I watch
All-Star
it all,
game.
man. I
So
watch it all.
all that, and I will say, as much as I love American sports, there's a lot of breaks in them. And I look at basketball and I'm watching and I'm going, every 5 seconds there's a timeout. Every
Yep,
20 minutes,
yep,
like
yep.
20 minutes, there's a quarter going on. So a lot of those, I've noticed American sports is not just a sports thing. It's a
It's a
whole
social
event
event.
it's a social event
Exactly.
that's been put on. There's concerts, there's everything.
Exactly.
There's so much going on that your eyes are
Yep.
just constantly
It's
looking for
pure
content.
entertainment in full
And
form.
yeah, and it's not just about the 90 minutes of football or the 48 minutes of basketball that's happening on the court. What are your thoughts on that North versus South? I mean, imagine
Yeah.
Liverpool. I can't imagine
No.
Liverpool and United players.
So so the traditionalist in me
Yeah,
just knows that this is never gonna happen.
yeah,
It's just the people that are involved in British football are just gonna be like, no, this is stupid. That we're not adding more games. We're not adding risk to our players. There's already preseason tours. Every international break, every other preseason, there's World Cup or Euros. There's something. There's just too much football, and the players are going to be like, no, because yeah, to go back to what I watch. Yeah, I watched the NBA and the NFL, and there is that exact same thing. In the NFL, there's called the Pro Bowl and the NBA All-Star Game, and the lack of effort from these players, it's it's outstanding. It's like they don't care. They don't want to be there. They get paid to be there. Don't get me wrong. It's
yeah,
part of their contracts where it's like, oh, if you make the All Star team, you get this bonus and so on and so forth. So they try to get voted in, but when it comes to the actual game, they don't care. So I can't imagine how it would be in a football sense, which is like passing the ball about, not really giving a damn. Like someone intercepts it and runs, you're not going to see them fully track back and care. Um, from a logistics standpoint, in terms of revenue, I get it. Okay,
yeah,
I understand completely. Like maybe British fans won't care, but international fans probably would. It's just the reality of it. Like, okay, especially if you do it like, all right, North v South, and it's a game in Japan. That place is going to sell out. You know it is. It's going to be broadcast on ESPN. It's going to be broadcast on Sky Sports. It's going to be broadcast on whatever thing. So the revenue is going to be there. So from a revenue standpoint, it makes so much sense. But the counter to that is just
yeah.
it's just never going to happen. Like it's fun to think about. The North would absolutely destroy the South. Let's just be real. It's Man City, Liverpool, Man United. But
Exactly.
the South would get destroyed. But in my opinion, it should be London because it's literally just London, and the
Yeah,
other South teams are like Southampton. Like who's
yeah,
coming from Southampton?
yeah.
So it's cool to think about in the fun sense, but traditionalist is just no way it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, even if it does come in, I think of it and I go, well, the only thing that's gonna probably the only thing that's gonna be replaced is probably the charity community shield.
But
You
even that
know,
won't, because that's like a
yeah,
historical thing.
exactly. So like, I think Americans, I might be wrong on this, but I don't see Americans as someone who care about history as much as the Britishers do. In terms of
Oh yeah,
Britishers would continue the same tournament for years and years to come, whereas Americans would change anything and everything. They'd
of
turn it
course.
all around.
Because the
Just
way
try and
American sports here, like you said, it's 100% full blown capitalism in its finest. That's just me being honest. Because there's
yeah,
like you said, there's a commercial break every 5 minutes. So for that 5 minutes, the amount of money that comes in from commercial advertising, and then during the halftime they get entertainment. There's music. There's this. There's that. There's so much money pumped into one single game, and it's just insane. Like like you said, it's basketball's only 4 quarters of 12 minutes, but it goes on for 3 hours. So it's like the amount of money that one game generates, and you add in all the games that all the teams play, and then playoffs not even involved in that. So it amplifies during the playoffs. And so, like Bowley said, he wants like a playoff for relegation, and everyone was just like, "Well, what is this?" But
No,
they forget in the 80s that was a thing. I don't know if you recall in history, Chelsea, the only top team that got relegated from a playoff system. So it was a thing in British football, and it still exists in Bundesliga. But it's just like, where do you draw the line? Because you have it for promotion. It makes sense for relegation because it'll be more fun, it'll be entertaining. But it's kind of like breaking tradition again because you're like, oh, we used the points, but now you're like, oh, I could finish fourth but not be safe. So it's sorry, like fourth and bottom.
yeah,
Who
no,
knows?
I'm not exactly so sure about the relegation. Yes, maybe it might generate more revenue. Yeah, maybe it might generate
It
more
definitely would.
viewership. Yeah, you're right in that. But in terms of maybe down the line, 20 years down the line, if there's a possibility of maybe, that being for the top four, where top six teams play against each other in a knockout tournament to declare the Premier League champions in the top four, that would just be horrific. I mean, honestly, the fun, I don't think anyone can experience what it feels like. We've not had, I guess Chelsea have been lucky where we've kind of finished all of our title challenges quite early in the season, but going into that final day not knowing which team will be crowned champions, and especially when the two teams aren't playing against each other, is just a different feeling where you're following all 10 games in a row because you don't know who's getting relegated. The next minute, Liverpool becoming champions, and suddenly, whoa, City's scored three, and now they're going to be the champions, and now there's a relegation. That is what makes Premier League so competitive and so different from I guess just having a knockout one-off tournament where Man City could be incredible throughout the season but lose against Liverpool in that one game, and they're out on penalties, and suddenly they've lost the title because of one kick. I think, Kamal, you're muted again.
Sorry, excuse me.
No,
I don't know if you follow the MLS at all, but
I know the format, but yeah, not a
it's
big
so
fan. Yeah,
bad. And I've
yeah,
tried with all my heart. I've had
yeah,
season tickets since I moved to Orlando, okay?
yeah,
And I've tried to give as much as I can in terms of supporting my local team, blah blah blah. But it's just like, why do I care? Because like you said, it's the league format doesn't mean anything.
yeah.
Like the fans who I know who are diehard and go to games every week, they're like, oh, if we don't lose, it doesn't matter as long as we're in the playoff spot. It's just like, well, excuse me. It's like I don't care if we're second or first. Even if
Yeah,
we're sixth, it doesn't matter because we can go on a run and win the MLS Cup because that's all that matters in American sports. It's playoffs. That's all they know. It's not if you finish first throughout the regular season, it doesn't mean jack. It doesn't mean nothing. So you could be sixth and go on an amazing run and win that cup at the end of the year, and that's what matters. It's just such a complete contrast to European sport. So it's a concept. I understand what BOEHLY'S thinking in terms of revenue streaming.
yeah,
It would make sense from revenue, but implementing it, he's gonna have a real tough time doing
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to make it easier for him to try and implement
Oh, of
these
course not.
American strategies because realistically, we've got quite a few American owners now. Arsenal, Man United being the two biggest ones, and then
Liverpool.
a lot, yeah, and then Liverpool as well. So realistically, if they've not been able to do something like this, Bowley isn't going to have an easier time, and I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to be coming soon, anytime soon, to Premier League and European
The thing
football.
I'll give BOEHLY credit for is that his communication. He
Yeah,
is not afraid to say like, "This is what I think is a good idea." Like you never heard Stan Kroenke or Glazer come out and say, "This is what I think is a great idea," because they know they'll get slated. But BOEHLY don't give a shit. Like maybe he doesn't. Maybe he is self-aware to know that it's not like popular
yeah,
or the popular opinion, but he knows like this is a way to generate money. And his
yeah,
thinking isn't just, oh, it's just money. It's people got that stuck in their head, like Gary Neville was stuck in their head, like, oh, this is just all about money. No, no, no. This is about money for grassroots.
yeah,
Like this is what affect the team that Gary Neville owns, like in Southwood City. Like this, he sees the bigger picture, which I like.
yeah. He does, and I think even if he does implement it, if it, I think football lawmakers in England will make sure it goes into the right areas. It won't just be, and especially with the football schedule that's been coming up in the last few years with the number of games clubs have got, and with the Champions League new system coming up soon as well. I think 2023, I think 2024. I can't exactly remember that thing starting, where clubs play 12 games in the group stage and the knockout format. It's one of those MLS formats as well. So it takes away from, you know, the 6-game group stage, and then on to the knockouts. You go straight in the Europa League. So yeah, something to look out for and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversations about that once that kicks in and once that comes into effect in a few years. But Kamal, I'm not going to hold you on for any longer, bro. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for giving me your time and having this conversation.
I'm sorry to keep you up. It's like almost 6 a.m.
Absolutely.
I feel so bad. When you told me the time, I was like, oh god.
No, it is. I won't lie, like summer and especially the games, Champions League games, they kick off 10-11 p.m. So I'm lucky this year that the Champions League games are before the time change. But when the time change happens, you know, 11 p.m. is when the game's starting. You're done by 1.
You'll be back home now, so you'll be back in England, so you'll be all right.
Yeah. So yeah, when I'm in England, then it's a bit better. Starting 8 p.m. and being able to just wrap up a podcast by 10 p.m. or 12, like, you know, by 11 I'm like, whoa, if I finish recording, I'm just editing the podcast, and then it's so much more easier. But no, thank you very much, Kamal, for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime, man. Anytime.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to have you on again. For
100%,
those of
anytime.
For those of you watching, make sure to follow Kamal. You know, incredible tweets on Twitter. I can vouch for 90% of those, so the rest 10%.
That's right.
You might have to filter a few out, but no.
Sure.
Make sure to follow him on Twitter and make sure to follow us on all of our social media pages. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like rating, and you know, comment below what you think of all the topics that we've discussed about. A lot that's been discussed. Thomas Tuchel, Potter coming in, Todd Bowley and his leadership at Chelsea, as well as, you know, the bigger picture of future of football in Europe and around the world, and then obviously the preview, not the preview, but the review of today's game against Salzburg. And yeah, there's not going to be a lot of football talk for Chelsea now, since the international break's going to kick in a few weeks, and no game for Chelsea this weekend against Liverpool. We'll try and do an episode throughout the international break, talk maybe a little bit about the World Cup that's coming up and the squads that are going to be or the set-in players that will be in those squads. So watch out for that. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you for Kamal again, and we'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe.